theory reason action and theory plan behavior. These two theories basically are in one theory, which is they both use the same concept. Specifically, theory plan behavior is the continuation from the theory reason action. These theories are social psychology based models that explain someone's behavior. Theory reason action explains about how attitude, which is nature of a person, and a subjective norm, including surrounding, peers' opinion, and environment, influence the behavioral intention and then influence someone's behavior. While theory plan behavior uses the same concept, which is how attitude and norms influence the intention, but with the addition of perceived behavioral control, which is personal control over the behavior, influence the intention, then lastly influence the behavior. Basically, these theories suggest that a person's health behavior is determined by their intention to perform a behavior. The example for theory of planned behavior is if someone has a negative attitude and feel that they do not have control of this action, that will lead to the person being less likely to carry out that action. Also, if people within society do not approve of this action, then it would have a negative impact on a person's intention for the action. An individual's attitude and perceived behavioral control can have a positive or a negative impact on their intention and the action of the behavior depending on that individual's personal views.
And then we move on into history of theory reason action and theory planned behavior. Martin Fishbein and Isaac Ashton introduced the theory of reason action in 1987 as an advance on the information integration theory. They developed the theory after attempting to distinguish between attitude and behavior, and the behavioral intention is the first departure from the integration theory. And then we look at the theory planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior exists as an extension of the theory reason action, which developed by Martin Fishbein and Isaac Ashton in 1987. The TPB was elaborated by Isaac Ashton in 1991 as a comprehensive model for predicting and explaining a variety of different forms of behavior. The social study conducted by Ashton aimed to include perceived behavioral controls because it was a main component of the theory earlier. The next part is applying the theory in campaign. Campaign planners should understand the relationship between the three main factors, which are attitude, perceived behavioral control, and subjective norms that can influence the behavior. Second, campaign planners can use the TRA and TPB because it contains both internal and external factors. The last one, the theory can be used in campaign because campaign planners can convince the audience to change the behavior by giving them the deep message that can make them control over the behavior. It is because perceived behavioral control can influence the behavior through intention or directly influence the behavior. Cognition is defined as the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the sense. Social cognitive theory describes how the individual experience, which is known as personal, the action of others, known as observation, and environmental factors that influence individual health behavior. A person's behavior is learned by the consequences of his or her own previous behavior as well as the behaviors of others. And then, if the outcome of the previous behavior or behavior of others is gratifying, the behavior is more likely to continue. But if it's not, the behavior will not continue. Social cognitive theory also means that the individuals does not learn a behavior based on conditioning, but rather choose actions based on the desire to obtain a certain objective. Social cognitive theory was introduced by Stanford psychologist Albert Bandura in 1960s. He developed the social cognitive theory from social learning theory in 1960s, and it proposed to explain the theory about human behavior. According to this theory, human behavior is learned and formed through interaction with other people and environment. The focus is on social influence, including external and internal social reinforcement is what characterizes social cognitive theory. Campaign planner can apply this theory by giving the audience a statement, a question, or example to spark the second thought before committing any behavior. For example, campaign planners can use the audience's personal experience element by asking the question like, "Have you ever experienced this situation before?" After asking the question, campaign planner can give the consequences, whether it positive or negative, from the past behavior. Then it will spark the interest of the audience to change the behavior. Campaign planner can also use others' experience, for example, like giving the example of the successful person behavior. This action can give the motivation or inspiration for the audience to follow the same behavior.